Ben Affleck plays Matt Damon in Good Will Hunting and Bourne Identity inside of this movie called The Accountant, where he's also autistic. The Accountant. Alright, let's start off with some positives. For positives, for sure the acting is really good. Sometimes I'd even go as far as to say it's great. If I were to say watch this film, it would primarily be for Ben Affleck's performance. I don't know too many films based on autistic characters, but he's definitely right up there with Rain Man. The first 30 to 40 minutes of this film really takes his time to set up Ben Affleck's character. And he does a great job. He's an accountant diagnosed with autism, and we get a decent amount of flashbacks that really allow us to see how he's been able to lead the life he currently has. I think Ben Affleck handled the role really well. He brought in a rather subtle performance, yet the entire time you could feel like each moment of the character's history on screen. You could always see Ben Affleck is always thinking, is always aware, is always processing, even when his character is just like having a normal interaction. He handled the autistic qualities pretty well. Because this role is also an action role, and I can imagine an actor really trying to showcase the autistic side, but his character is strongly about concealing his identity, keeping secrets, so he does his best to hide these traits. So I love how he internalized everything emotionally, but proceeded with the role intellectually. I feel like I said that pretty well. There was no noise going on outside before I started filming this video. No noise. There's also some pretty damn good supporting performances in here. Jeffrey Tambor, he really stood out to me. Without revealing too much, he's one of the mentors that Ben Affleck's character has. And he's not in a lot of the movie, but the few scenes he has, he adds a lot of life to the role. Anna Kendrick also adds a nice personality touch to the film. And although her character isn't the most interesting, it's only because her character is supposed to be the more normal, regular kind of person. The scenes she has with Ben Affleck are really well acted. Even though there are times where I didn't really buy the writing or the direction of where the film was taking her character with Ben Affleck, I felt that she still maintained solid chemistry with him and did her best to justify certain things. And of course, Jon Bernthal. It's cool seeing him in here. Everything I can recall seeing Jon Bernthal in, he's usually putting some type of accent or voice on. It was cool hearing his normal speaking voice. Kind of just sounds like a bro. And in this performance, he also got a chance to really showcase his charismatic side. From standout roles he had in like The Walking Dead or in as the Punisher on Netflix, I'm used to seeing him be, you know, like extremely serious. So it was nice seeing a much more charming Jon Bernthal. But that's not to say he doesn't have a scene or two that showcases he's still a great dramatic actor. And I really enjoyed the first 30 to 40 minutes of this film. Honestly, about 20 minutes in, I asked myself, like, why is everyone hating on this? This is pretty good shit. And then after a scene on a farm, you became pretty aware what the problems are. I don't want to give away spoilers, so here's what I'll say. First 30 to 40 minutes, there's actually a lot of originality in there. It does a really good job of setting up its characters, not just Ben Affleck, but the supporting roles. And you really are intrigued by the accountant. You see this man was born autistic, had a very troubling childhood, then he grew up, and then he likes to go gun shooting, and he likes to uncook books for criminals. I don't know, seriously, saying that out loud, it's like, that's the plot of the movie. But it also takes time for character study. Seeing the way he lives his life outside of accounting was actually one of the more interesting parts of the film. Beyond him being a perfectionist of things, there's a couple of really well-acted and well-shot moments where he's like meditating in loud music and flashing lights. That's what I like to do before I call up Tyrone Magnus on the phone. And the setup of the plot that's pitched in the trailer, how he gets involved in an accounting case and then some shit starts to go wrong. It was cool at first, and it also allowed for a really great, like, uplifting scene between him and Anna Kendrick. When things start to go wrong, it starts to do some cool stuff in the way how it's affecting Ben Affleck. This man who must be in control is just losing it. That lasts for like 5 minutes. Then there's this like really cool action scene at a farm. It was a really, really cool action scene. But then after that, it just took a big left turn like into cliche mystery thriller film. Which, to be blunt, the mystery is not all that thrilling. So to call this a thriller, you know, I'm just like, it's not thrilling. I mean, granted, the film still periodically offers up some pretty cool action sequences. And there's other scenes too that are pretty good, so the film doesn't entirely lose it. It did something weird where it kept going from just cliche, predictable, just downright expositional into, oh, that was actually a cool scene. Just like it goes back and forth between those two. John Lithgow, he was okay in the role. It's not like I felt like John Lithgow did a bad job, or even if the role really required a lot of depth. I just felt like that was a missed opportunity. You got a great actor in a role that could have easily been more enhanced to give you a great supporting role. And then the most annoying part of the film is that there's like plot twists and turns and reveals, and I think one of them was kind of cool that involved Commissioner Gordon, but all the other ones, like the one that involves Punisher, there's one main plot turn involving John Bernthal that comes in very late into the film. I'm not gonna give it away, but the second I saw John Bernthal, I was like, oh, he's that character. He's this person. I know it already. And then as the film kept going, I was like, wait a minute, are they trying to like set this up as a twist or a reveal? Because I thought they were just gonna establish this thing like 5 minutes after we just met John Bernthal, and then they just hold on to it. And then when they finally reveal it, they try making it like it's this huge, insane thing. And then I couldn't help but feel that you would have had a much more interesting film if you put that reveal like midway through the film and then you allow that reveal to affect the plot a little bit. It just would have made for a much more intriguing, more personal plot driven movie instead of just an oh my gosh moment at the end when it's not really oh my gosh. The film has some pretty good flashbacks, but then there's also just way too much flashbacks. And some flashbacks are I'm just like, we didn't need to see that, and that doesn't make sense. Like even before the cool farm sequence, we get this flashback that's like out of some bad kung fu film when his character's like 12 or something. I just didn't think it was necessary to show that. Did you really need to show us that? You could have just put it in a sentence of like, whatever. It just seemed like some flashbacks were so unnecessary that it would have been better to allude to certain things or let the audience kind of like come up with something on their own here in a character motive of Ben Affleck's character instead of just showing us some flashback that feels a little out of place. And I thought J.K. Simmons did a good job. J.K. Simmons is always good. He could have like one line in a film and he still rocks it. And I appreciated that they went out of their way to add more depth to this character that normally would have just been a cliche character. At the same time though, I felt like they could have spread out his story more throughout the film. But instead they give us this one scene where he monologues for like 10 straight minutes and with just a lot of flashbacks over it. And it kind of comes in like at some random point in the film. So it doesn't even feel like this was the right timing for this epic explanation. It felt like an amateur writing maneuver. That's not to say that I'm like a great writer or anything. I mean, I am. I'm the best writer I know. Can't think of anyone better than me. Sorkin, go fuck yourself. I clearly have the IMDb credits to prove that to you. Hello, noise from the other side. It was a bummer to see that they had all this great stuff involving J.K. Simmons' character that all got, I don't want to say shoehorned, but sort of like overstuffed all in one scene that didn't quite seem to fully justify like him giving this huge explanation. The basic problem with everything is that after that great action sequence at the farm, the film becomes so heavily about just moving the plot forward, moving the reveals and turns from this so-called mystery forward. And there's no real emotional stakes. Like yes, Ben Affleck, he kicks ass in this role, but I never ever once felt like he was in any sort of real danger. He didn't seem like he was in danger of dying. He didn't seem like he was in danger of even losing. It looked like it was gonna do this thing where this man gets put in a dangerous situation and he's gonna start making non-rational decisions, very emotional based decisions that could lead to some serious consequences, which would have been a cool film. But instead it's just Ben Affleck handling business, man. So while it makes for an enjoyable film, I can't help but feel that there's a great film in here. This is from Warner Brothers, so they probably cut it horribly afterwards. So yeah, this film could have been something of a great masterpiece, but instead it's another missed opportunity where the best thing about it is Ben Affleck. Cue Batman v Superman poster. So yeah, with my new rating system, I would give it... okay. Alright guys, subscribe to The Real Rejects. Become a reject today. YouTube, things stay like that. And you can follow me on Instagram. I actually use that. So if there's one social media you actually want to follow me on, you can go there and here in YouTube. And sayonara, amigo.